I got some life. How you guys doing? So I just want to do some rant. I'm in my big chair, um, living room. Um, it's a lazy boy. It's a nice chair. Really cool chair. Um, so uh, First about the drugs thing. Um, yeah, I wasn't given a placebo because I felt that, but on the other hand, um, it's kind of groovy, and Um, if anything, it didn't really make me play worse physically. It kind of opened my mind to maybe play in a different way, maybe more creatively, be more open spirited, open minded. I think the actual jam I just did, Gravy or Grave, um, actually might even be unique. It is, yeah, you can say it's the same, but it also had just a little different flavor to it because I had been intoxicated involuntarily, though I might add. But hey, that's why all musicians did drugs. I guess it opened their mind for their music, but doesn't make it a good thing, and nor does it make it good for them. And nor did I do mine on purpose. So actually, it opened my mind a little bit. Why not? I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it on purpose. And since it happened, I figured I might as well go with it. So there's that, and then I wanted to say that I also see some good in meeting Mari because I really enjoyed that party. They called it a um, uh, uh, film festival. I enjoyed it. Being there for spy reasons or not, for Mari's end. I thought it was cool. I got to, and I think LA is cool, and talked to a bunch of people, and it was cool. So I'm looking, I'll make good out of it, and I've been through enough that I didn't even panic when she just seemed to leave me there. I was just like, well, whatever happens, happens. I'm good. Then she comes back to me like nothing happened. In fact, then she said she was just acting, which is weird. She probably was dosing the tea with that. She couldn't do it in front of me, so she had to make an excuse to get away. And when I wouldn't get away the first time because I thought I'd get lost, she had to make an excuse to get away, which made she had to yell at me. So that's what my theory is. Whatever. Um, Um, yeah, there's that, and then I want to rant about guitar a little bit. Joe Satriani said one time. He said in a video on interview. He said, people tend to think when you're playing blues you're playing slower or you're not as technical, but then when you're playing classical or jazz, they think that you're playing faster. And he just laughed and said, it's all technique, though. It's the same thing you're doing in both cases. It's just people have this filter to think that blues is always less technical. And it's not true. If you play fast blues guitar, that's just as hard as playing fast classical shred. It's just the notes are different. What's the difference? And the one I want to apply this thought to is my list of favorite guitarists. Number 3 is Jimmy Page. And he's in the blues idiom, but that does not mean he didn't play fast. And some people say he's sloppy, but he meant to play that way, is my opinion. And it sounds cool because no one else was doing that. No one else was playing sloppy yet being so fucking cool about it. So that itself is cool. And he wasn't playing slow. If you listen to some of his jams, the guy could play, faster than Hendrix. Not as fast as Van Halen, but whatever. He was before Van Halen, so he shouldn't have to be as fast as Van Halen. I'm supporting him as not a lame guitar player. He was actually very good. Hence, he's my third favorite guitar. On my list, he's number 3. And I think justifiably so. He edges out Randy Rhoads because while Randy was, cool and all that, he just didn't have the longevity that might have earned him a higher spot on my list. He did a couple albums and the tribute album came out, but he was already dead by then, So, and then Hendrix being number 1, that's universally acceptable. And then Eddie Van Halen being number 2, and then for number 5 and 6, I had to decide between Ingrid Malmsteen and Steve Vai. And while I like Steve Vai's playing better, and I'd rather listen to Steve Vai, I think Ingrid had slightly bigger influence on music, on rock and roll. So I gave him the number 5 spot instead of Steve, and then I gave Steve the number 6 spot. And then 7 has to be Richie Blackmore. Come on, you can't forget that guy. And number 8 has to be Robin Trower. You can't forget that guy. Number 9 is Eric Clapton. Can't forget him. And then number 10 is a toss-up between George Lynch and Paul Gilbert. Depends on what day it is and what time you ask me. Probably I'll say Paul Gilbert most of the time, but you never know. Sometimes George Lynch was awesome, man. Dokken would have made it even bigger than they did if Don hadn't had an attitude. Don Dokken hadn't had an attitude and thought he could make it on his own and do better than the band, and he kind of fucked the whole vibe up and messed up the band's opportunities and stuff. Not the band's fault, Don's fault. And not the talent of the band's fault, Don's fault. You know, that was a great band. Dokken were great. So, in fact, I'm grooving. I'm grooving to the aftermath of this mad honey I took, or got given. Say that fast. It's kind of groovy to me. You know, I'm not gonna do it again. You know, I'm not. I don't even know how to get mad honey. I wouldn't even if I could. I don't have the money for it. So, and I wouldn't do it as well as that. And I'm saying I wouldn't do it, which means that's what I'm saying. But I don't mind it. It's all right. You know, whatever. It happens. So I might as well roll with it. That's the Shirtless Guy thing. If it already happened, just take your lumps and do the best you can. Go with the flow is kind of my thought, you know. And cool. And yeah, that part that film festival was cool. I almost got to have my picture taken on the red carpet, but I needed to get past a check where they had to make sure they knew what movie I was doing and all that, and I wasn't allowed to just step on the red carpet. But Mary took pictures of me in front of the red carpet, which was still cool, you know. She only took 2 though. That's a sign that her heart wasn't in it. She just did it because she had to. If your heart's in something, you don't do it twice. You do it once if that's all you think you can do, or you do it 3 or 4 times. So, whatever. I mean, I'm just now analyzing there, and on the math front, I'm still doing good in my calculus book. I read some most days, and I got maybe a math lesson is coming. And yeah, did you guys notice that I want to say some good things about me based on what just happened. First of all, note my choice. I chose to, rather than think she might be telling the truth and take that chance, I decided to end it with her. That shows, and I did that for my country, and so I wouldn't commit treason. So that shows where my heart is on that issue. So Donald Trump, if you're watching, I put America first. Of course, I think that was the right thing to do. I wasn't doing anything like I wouldn't do, but I didn't. When it came down to having to, you know, risk hurting America, I drew the line right there, and I dropped it with her on that alone was enough to say no, I'm not going to do this, much less being drugged and whatever, you know. And another cool thing was that what was another cool thing? Oh, that I stuck up for Marietta Temecula. You guys saw that I liked LA. You know, I do. I like LA. It's a cool place. But I wasn't going to give up on Marietta Temecula as my family. I made that explicitly clear in the videos. Marietta Temecula is my hometown, my family. And even though I may even someday have a house in LA or whatever that means, or I can't predict the future. I'm not that good, but I would still either have my house here in Marietta still, which is most likely, or still come back here. But I think I'll probably keep this house no matter what. And but that doesn't mean I will commute somehow to LA. But I noticed how I stuck up for you guys, and that was when I didn't realize that she was duping me. I was really saying my real feelings there. Another thing that was cool, she kept baiting me, I think, I have a feeling, to try to say something that would incriminate me. Like she would put down Donald Trump and then ask what I think. As if kind of to say, well, Jimmy, you want to incriminate yourself? But I didn't break cover. I didn't do that. I didn't go, yeah, you're right. I didn't say that. I'm sure it's all recorded, at least on her end, not on my end. But everything I said and did, I'm sure was recorded by her and her cohorts, you know. And I didn't say anything that got me, that would have been incriminatable or anything, or I would have been in trouble by now probably anyway. But I didn't do anything just because she said it. I didn't just say, yeah, you're right, and then say it myself. I didn't do that. I just listened, and, you know, I think she was baiting me, but it didn't work. It didn't work, Mari. So whatever. Yeah. And thank you that, you know, I'm reading the comments more than I used to now. You guys notice, I think, that I'm reading a little bit more than I used to. And that's because I can handle the hate better. I'm just more confident now to be, I'm just more confident. Call me. There's a guy that has a channel called Jim 5'7" faggot or gay or something. I don't care. Call me gay, asshole. I don't care. Whatever. That's your opinion, and you don't even believe it yourself, I'm sure. But whatever. Call me that. Say I'm 5'7", which I'm not. I'm 5'9.5". Reality will prove me right and him an asshole. So I'm on the right side of reality. Good enough for me. Works for me. I don't care. Make up another one even worse, dude. Make a worse one for me. Come on, I please do it for me. It's rubbing off. It's washing off me quicker than it used to. The hate. I just take it and laugh and take it and that's cool. Thanks for the attention. And I didn't always do that. I used to get my feathers all ruffled and all messed up just because I read a bad comment. But I'm starting not to be that way anymore. And not only do and then so when I read the comments, which I'm doing more of, I see more of the good comments, and people are starting to say good shit about me, which I appreciate. I don't demand it, but that's cool. Thank you. Someone said Nirvana is the best. My closest band that I sound the most like when I do covers is Nirvana. That was nice to say because they were a great group. Some people are saying cool stuff, which, assholes may be abundant, but they're not universal. They're not all there is. Love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.